So hello and welcome to the 35th episode of the Spotlight Podcast, the unofficial podcast for Century 21 sales representatives in Canada, where we discuss the hot topics and important news in the real estate industry. So I'm your host, Linas Kilius, and with me, as always, is Eryn Richardson. Hey, Eryn.
Hi, Linas. How are you?
Eryn is a broker and general manager of Century 21 Heritage Group. Eryn has an extensive background in online marketing, technology, and customer service. And I'm the head of business development at the real estate marketing company, Homeania. So commercial real estate. Most agents don't deal with commercial real estate transactions on a regular basis. Every commercial listing has its nuances. Whether it's a niche industry, a restricted buyer pool, governmental restrictions and regulations, intricate business financial statements and projections, there's so many ins and outs, it's impossible to excel at all forms of commercial real estate. So if you have a seller interested in using you for a commercial transaction, where do you start? And as is usual on the show, this isn't an easy question to answer. And also, as per usual, we're going to discuss this in great detail. But before we start, if you watched the last show, you would have known that Eryn was at the global conference in Las Vegas. We actually did a show live from Las Vegas. So Eryn, how'd the rest of the conference go? Have you come up with any neat ideas coming out of Vegas?
Oh, yeah. No, it was great. It actually was overwhelming, the amount of information that was there. I saw the full list of all the different seminars I could have attended or I wouldn't have been able to attend. But I mean, there was hundreds, 150 some odd. I don't even know how many was on that sheet, but it seemed like there's just so much information. So you can only pick and choose what to go to. But I know there were some opportunities there that I might be able to get a hold of some recordings. So I'm going to look into maybe being able to listen to some of the presentations audio.
So these global conferences too, is this the kind of thing that most brokerages should have a representative there from management, or even like as a sales representative should be going to these global conferences or conferences in general? Do you think there's a lot to be had from there?
I mean, there's a lot of different conferences to go to, whether it be the Canadian conference, the global conference, the NAR conference, the Inman conference. There's lots of different good conferences out there to attend. But so, yeah, I mean, it's good to get out to them to get the cutting edge of technology or the information that's happening, to network amongst the agents. And I think every broker should think about maybe not heading every single one every year, or one person goes to one every year, because it can get a little overwhelming. But to at least pick this year, maybe I'll go to NAR, and next year I'll go to the global again, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's good to get out to them for sure.
And I guess more importantly, at the end of the last show, I recommended you put money on 17 Black. Did you do that?
I did. I didn't have any luck there. Sorry.
Well, there's like a 1 in 40 chance of hitting that. So that's too bad. So I guess you're not going to be buying me dinner anytime soon, eh?
Well, not for that reason, no.
All right. Well, let's get into the show on that note. So Eryn, if a seller came to you with a commercial listing, being a real estate agent that doesn't handle commercial real estate listings in general, like, where do you start?
What type of commercial it is, first of all, how in depth. There's so many different facets when it comes to commercial that you need to know, and you need to find out how much or how involved this is going to be. I've done some commercial listings in the past. I've gotten some assistance from some of the other commercial agents in our company. So I have a basic understanding and knowledge in some of the areas, but not every area. That's for sure.
Well, it seems like that's one of the problems with commercial in general. It's not like it's residential where there aren't as many different types of residential transactions. There's, literally hundreds of different kinds of commercial properties. You can talk about like gas stations, large buildings. You can just talk about selling businesses themselves too. So is like you kind of were talking about, you got support from another agent. Is that a good place to start if you have a commercial transaction come and try and lean on someone else's experience?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the general rule of thumb, I believe, in our offices and myself, is that if it's not something you do, if it's a commercial property or commercial business that you haven't done before, definitely don't take it on yourself. I mean, I know that sometimes you're maybe not as busy at the time and you want to try something new or you want to learn, but it's really important to your customer as well as to yourself and to your company. And there's just many different reasons why you shouldn't be taking on something you don't know. But for sure, I mean, look at look at the situation. Like you said, it could be, I mean, it could be hotel. So it could be selling I had an agent come up to myself and then one of the other managers and said, listen, why do you guys are saying to refer it. I mean, aren't you there for support? Aren't you as managers there to help me through a transaction in real estate? And my response was, really, even if you went to a commercial company and they said, okay, we're looking to sell a hotel, depending on the scope of the commercial transaction, those agents within their commercial brokerage might refer it, because that might not be right up their alley in terms of what they do. We've had agents spend 10 years just in something called ICI or industrial commercial. And even at the end of her 10-year stint with a commercial specific organization, she just at the end of the career got familiar enough to take on her own listings. Like, they wouldn't allow her to have her own listings. She would have to, partner up with somebody for 10 years to learn the industry and learn what's, all the important things to know about the specific commercial developments and everything.
So obviously, depending on the type of commercial transaction, there is more or less that you'd need to know specifically for those industries and such, depending on the transaction, like the nature of the transaction. Are there opportunities where you could work on them yourself if it's maybe a simpler commercial transaction?
Well, yeah, that's what it comes down to. I mean, we're predominantly a residential brokerage. We are looking to expand into commercial division. However, we've done a lot of commercial transactions, and typically the commercial transactions that we do are through agents that have worked in the commercial industry, but also we're not getting into real specifics. So there's a commercial building, for example, for sale. It's listed at $950 in your town. A commercial building isn't quite as detailed as selling commercial business, for example. And we sell houses. There's not as much of a difference. I mean, there's still going to be some environmental concerns and zoning issues and things that you're going to look into that you might not go into depth with residential. But in the general sense, it's more of a straightforward transaction. So buildings, I'd say, are fine. We can get you through a building, we can get you through a lease, and we lean on lawyers a lot of times to help us as well.
So turns out my grandfather actually got into real estate, and he ended up falling into selling gas stations, and that was kind of his niche, right? To be honest with you, I have no idea how he ended up getting into gas station stuff. Is this the typical route of how people do get into these weird niches, by like having that one opportunity and having it snowball from there?
That's actually interesting, because I did get halfway through, I think maybe 4 or 5 years in, my wife gave me sort of a lead from somebody she was working with. And she says, yeah, he's looking for a spot for a gas station. He buys and sells and fixes up gas stations. And I sort of ran away from that one. And I always felt guilty for not really, when somebody sends you something, you really want to help them out. But, I just knew that wasn't my, listen, I could get my head over my, get over my head with that very quickly. And if somebody does find themselves, let's say, in a situation where they take on something like a gas station, and they partner with somebody, or somebody helps them through it, they all of a sudden become the authority. Whoa, he's sold a gas station before. So if there's anybody in the office that's looking for, a gas station or looking to sell a gas station, we're going to give it to that person. And then you sort of fall into that niche and become an expert all of a sudden as soon as you start selling 5, 6, 7 of them.
Yeah, and I think we all know how real estate works on like the referrals from past clients and such too. So if you do have that one client that is in the business of purchasing and fixing up gas stations, you're dealing with buyers and sellers. Eventually that could snowball into getting other referrals, other clients in that gas station area, I guess. And then you can become like the guy to go to for gas stations pretty easily. Are these the kind of things where there are opportunities for this? Because I mean, there's not a lot of not a lot of room, I guess, because there's not a lot of like volume in terms of like numbers of, say, like gas stations being sold, since we're using that example. So I imagine it's difficult to crack into them, but maybe once you are in, is this a good avenue to be in?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I actually get excited when I think of things like that. Oh, that'd be something that I would totally do. If I got into commercial, I would start to specifically target one niche first and get good at it, and that way, everybody sort of knows you as that person, and then move on to the next one. I know some people that just do, like maybe your grandfather just did gas stations. That's all he did. He didn't sell anything else other than, it depends how you want to build your business. If I was, I have a retail background, so that might be something that I could get into in terms of retail space and leasing. And, although when I think about leasing, I mean, it's, there's a lot involved when you're doing leases, and, depending on the lease and everything, it's not quite as lucrative as selling a building. And that's the other thing. I mean, if you're going to get into commercial, you got to realize it's not like residential where it's numbers and you're selling 5, 10, 20 houses a year. You're selling 1 or 2 things a year, and you get your payday 2 years from now. So you really have to be, you almost have to have your sort of bread and butter. You have to have the one thing that sort of gets you the income coming in through on a consistent basis, and then specialize in the other stuff off to the side, so that you'd have that 1 or 2 sales every couple of years that are the big ones. I don't know. Depends how you build your business.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm getting from this conversation too is there's a bit of a barrier to entry for this commercial real estate, just specializing specific niches in commercial industry.
Yeah.
But that's often an opportunity, right? Because not everyone can crack into it. If you're the one willing to put in the extra work to get over that hump, it can be beneficial for you in the end, because there is less competition potentially in those industries, because not everyone can get into it as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit more about getting that experience in a specific niche, because we talked about referring to an agent who's got experience, or potentially even leaning on them. But how would you, if you wanted to get into it and you wanted to work with an agent, how would you approach them? Would you go in 50-50 on a listing with them? How does that situation work where you're working with an agent, especially if they're outside of your brokerage?
Well, and that's it. I mean, we look to the inside of our brokerage first. We want to keep it in-house and all the rest of it, but sometimes that special niche isn't within the brokerage. And it's really difficult to share between brokerages, or co-list something between brokerages. So, a lot of cases, if it's not within your own brokerage, it's going to be difficult for you to do a 50-50. And most commercial agents that I've talked to really don't like doing that, because then they lose their competitive edge too, because they're the expert in that area. And why are they passing their knowledge to somebody that's going to take business away from them? So it's difficult. Commercial is a whole different ballgame. And when it comes down to even us looking to build a commercial division, we're trying to really, really do it right this time. And I say this time because I think most residential brokerages have dabbled from time to time, but if you really look for specific, you've got to have the right paperwork, you have the right, the right forms and documents and clauses, and have a good legal, team behind you as well, because a lot of commercial is done on the lawyer side as well. You negotiate the deal, but the lawyer tidies everything up and makes sure the thing closes. So there's more of a legal aspect of the commercial end of things. You need that type of support.
Hi. One other big question I had too, unlike residential real estate, there aren't large buyer pools for a lot of these commercial listings. There's only so many people that are looking to buy gas stations. Lots of people looking to buy houses. Now, what's the best way to get your listing out there? Is there a place to go, or an easy way to get the word out? Because you might only have a small pocket of people that would be interested in purchasing these types of properties.
Yeah, there's actually a few questions in there that I'm thinking about. The general sense in commercial, it's different, because if you're talking leasing, I do find a lot of leasing on the MLS. Some buildings hit the MLS, but I find the majority of the good inventory in terms of commercial listings are kept exclusive within the brokerages and within the networking of the community. So if it hits MLS, it's almost a stigma, it didn't get sold within the brokerage. Therefore, maybe it's not as hot a listing, hottest commodity. So it's difficult from a commercial standpoint unless you're plugged into the networking amongst the agents in the area or into the community. There's the business community if you're selling a business. So it's a different, like I said, ball of wax, and how you market yourself is going to be unique. You're going to have to find a unique niche. If you have something that's unique, that's within a niche, it's not even the way you market, it's how you prospect for that. It's different than, I think, residential real estate, in the sense that we put it on an MLS system and wait for the offers. You actually have to do a lot more knocking on doors and making phone calls. So if it was a gas station, for example, you should know who is in charge of real estate for Petro-Canada, Esso. You should be making phone calls to all the different independents, find out who's the key players within the industry, and make sure that you pick their brains, take them out for dinner, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of networking involved, a lot of phone calls, and and that's almost the best marketing that you could do. And now, and again, I'm not an expert at this. This is what the research that I've looked into and the conversations I've had with some key players within our area, and in the sense that building a commercial division, it's, this is what they're telling me, and I believe it because I've seen it too. So, it's it's not the same as residential, that's for sure.
Do you ever have agents come to you saying they want to specialize in commercial, but they just don't have the in for it? Like, what do you does that happen, first of all? And if it does, like, what would your advice be to them?
I mean, really is about networking. So you're going to have to, there's a lot of events that are put on through TREB, through different brokerages at different times. And you need to get out there and meet other agents, and you need to really find who you're going to learn from, I think, is the main thing. Because if you're trying to break into commercial and you don't have a network, or you don't have the in, it's going to be a very difficult, I guess it's going to be a difficult upward climb, because even the people that are plugged in, it's difficult for them to, get out there and market and get a niche. So yeah, I would say it's a lot of networking within the industry between agents.
Yeah, definitely not a simple thing to break into, but if you do have the opportunity, maybe it's something you shouldn't just pass off right away, I guess, is what the kind of takeaway is from this. Look into it, see if it's worthwhile investment, like, of your time and everything too, because it is a lot of time and effort. And I think that's the bottom line for this commercial. And there's a smaller pool of listings for any specific niche. The payoff might be great, but like you said, it can be fairly inconsistent as well. So is there anything you want to say before we wrap the show up?
I mean, just in the sense that I think when it comes from, in a standpoint of getting your residential, let's say you're going into real estate and you're getting your license and you're taking the courses, and, you take the residential course, and then in Ontario anyway, one of the mandatory courses is commercial. So you're going to get a basic knowledge of what a cap rate is, and, some investment advice and some of the clauses and things to ask and how to qualify and all the rest of it. But, I do find sometimes a little bit of knowledge, the saying is a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. That seems to be the case in residential real estate in Ontario, because all of us take that course and then think we know a little bit about commercial. So yeah, maybe I'll take on this opportunity to find a building or a business or sell a business or whatever it is. And then you get over your head and things fall apart on it. And I know a lot of lawyers get frustrated. Now, a lot of other commercial agents that are specific commercial get frustrated because they're dealing a lot with inexperienced and unknowledgeable people on the one side. So my only piece of advice in general is to don't take on something you don't know without help, and try not to get in over your head with it. There are some easier transactions that it's okay to start with, and let your manager help you with that. But for the most case, and the most, how we want to sort of have things working within our company is, we'll have a commercial division with people that are specifically trained and they can look after your leads, but refer it off. And if you get lucky enough to have somebody work 50-50 with you, or don't even take 50, do it for nothing, or not nothing, but maybe they give you 25%, and then you can just sort of, if they're happy enough to share, which a lot of them are as well, they can teach you along the way. So. And that's it in a nutshell.
That's a good summary. Ironically, I'm actually taking my commercial real estate transaction course starting in April, I think. So I'll be getting that little bit of knowledge that can be potentially dangerous as well. But yeah, it should be an interesting course.
Yeah, no, it is. It is a very interesting field too. I've always been interested in it. So
yeah. Like you said, though, I'm kind of surprised it isn't more of like a continuing education course, because it does seem strange that most people probably won't deal with commercial transactions, or at least not very frequently. So to have that being one of the mandatory courses, I guess, is, like you said, just giving you a little bit of knowledge, but not probably enough. Like, I haven't taken the course yet, so I don't know the specifics. Could be a dangerous thing. But anyhow, if you like the show, subscribe to our show on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you find your podcasts online. And please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on those sites. Just so those of you that know, last week we mentioned that Google Play was having some technical difficulties with having our podcast published online. Those have been resolved, so you can now find our show again on Google Play without a problem. You can also watch this and past shows at spotlight@century21.ca/podcast. If you need to reach us, you can email us anytime at podcast@homeania.com. That's podcast at HOM as in Mary, EAN as in Nancy, IA.com. So this podcast was brought to you by the Spotlight Marketing Program, an exclusive marketing package available only to Century 21 agents in Canada. Spotlight provides agents with a comprehensive internet marketing strategy for their listings. We provide high-quality HDR photography, stunning HD video tours, a cutting-edge responsive website, and an extensive advertising system that will help sell your listings faster, sell them for more money, impress your clients, and generate leads. So find out why so many top agents are using Spotlight by visiting spotlight.century21.ca today. Everybody, thanks for watching. Eryn, thanks again for hosting.
Thanks, Linas.
Have a great week.